Hey everyone, it's Hannah. So, people have been asking me for a while now to articulate what the Beautiful Series event is about. And actually, the request started coming even before we had our first event in October last year. And the reason that I haven't done it, to be quite honest, is I haven't known how to articulate it, like how to put it into words what the Beautiful Series event is about. So, um, for those of you that have come to the event, I think you've experienced it, and you know, if somebody were to ask you, you'd probably be able to tell them exactly, what your experience was coming to the event. And I think for me, it's because it's been such a personal journey. Um, it's just been a lot about a spiritual journey that God's taken me on. So in my head, like I completely get it, and there are times when I've wanted to put that to paper. Um, and it's just like in my head, it's so clear. And when I'm one on one with people, I find that like easy to explain to them because I'll tell them the story of how I started and how I actually just wrote a piece about how lipstick saved my life, where I had just gone through this really terrible, deep depression, which had been a result of me going through failures, just like failure after failure after failure after failure. Eventually, I was just like, okay, I'm done. Like I had nothing on the inside of me, and the depression that I just plunged into after feeling like I had just hit my rock bottom, and how I got pulled out of that, and how um makeup played a really big role in it, just like getting up in the morning. And it was actually advice from my mom when I'd phoned her the one time, just explaining to her the exhaustion that I felt and the emptiness that I felt, and just telling her that, what, in all my life I've never felt this exhausted. I had two small kids, and then we just had a newborn. I was just overwhelmed. It's like it's one thing to be going through a really tough time, but when you're having to go through that really tough time, but you still have to show up for the people around you, especially when it's your children, especially when they're that small, where they're completely dependent on you. I'm telling you, I was finished. And I just phoned my mom, and I was explaining this to her, and she listened. Thank God for moms. I love my mom. She's such an incredibly powerful woman. She listened to me, and she said, you needed to spend time with God. And then that I got because it makes sense. Spend time with God. He'll replenish you. He'll refresh you. He'll give you the strength. All of that. And then she said something really odd. She said to me, and you need to take care of yourself. And I was like, what? And she said, I know that it's hard, and I know that your kids are small, and I know that they need you, but you need to look after yourself, because if you fall apart, what's going to happen to them? So you need to look after yourself. Wear, put on some lipstick, get your hair done. And I'm telling you, I kind of like took my phone and I looked at it, and I was thinking, does she know what my day is like? I mean, even just to get a moment to go to the bathroom was was you know I was saying to this other woman this week, where you're so busy from the moment you wake up to the moment I went to sleep. I was on my feet. I'd go to bed with my feet throbbing because I'd been on my feet the whole day. And I was like, I don't even have time to pee. What do you mean? Go and get my hair done. Where's that time gonna come from? And my mom said, you know, but there was something about when she said it that just so resonated, that I was like, even though everything in me was like, I don't have the time to do this, I just felt like, mom's mom speaking something in here that I need to pay attention to. And so I'd love to be totally super spiritual and tell you that, oh, the next morning I whipped out my Bible, and I started reading and praying and all of that. But I didn't do that. What I did was, the following day, I went into the bathroom, and I put on a little bit of lipstick on my lips. And I was thinking, I love to do like a full makeup, like eyeshadow and, all of that. But all I had time for was just that lipstick, just to put a little bit of lipstick on my lips. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, oh my gosh, you look so ridiculous. But you know what? I looked at myself and I smiled, and that was the first time that I'd smiled in such a long time, just the silliness of it. And every day after that, I would just do one small thing, whether it was like brush my hair properly, and I pulled out clothes that I hadn't worn for a really long time. And I remember like getting into the just deciding to wash my feet properly, and I put my feet in the bathtub, and I just remember on one hand I wanted to laugh, on the other hand I wanted to cry because it was so tragic at how terrible my feet looked. And I was thinking to myself, it was summer, and I was thinking to myself, I've been walking around with my feet looking like this. I mean, I cannot even tell you how crusted and crummy and dirty and filthy and gross they looked, and that I had been walking around like that for weeks, for months. It was just anyway, I scrubbed my feet. I just scrubbed my feet and I cleaned them properly. And after I'd finished and I dried them and I'd moisturized them and then I put this bright banging pink on them. And I just felt so good. I walked out of the house that day and I just felt so good. I just wanted people to see these beautiful toes. And I know for some people that might sound so silly, but that was like the depth of where the depression had taken me. That I couldn't even, yeah. And the taking care of myself, and yes, I went and I got my hair done. And I started before I started on this just the lipstick, the feet, the hair. I had completely given up on anything that I'd ever wanted to do. And as I started to look after myself, and I started to put on a little bit of blush and put on that dress that I'd stashed away and thought I would never be able to fit into again, I thought to myself, Hannah, you had dreams. There was stuff that you wanted to do with your life. I had stopped dreaming. I had stopped wanting to do anything. I would wake up in the morning and just feel like, oh, like I just felt there was just nothing. I felt this was the end of my life. Anyway, and at the moment I started looking after myself, it was like there was stuff that I wanted to do once upon a time, and I started to take my dreams off the shelves, and I started to like, wow. And you know what? God, before this, 2 years prior, when God had said to me, I want you to remind women how beautiful they are. And at the time, I was like, okay, but didn't really know what it meant. Going through this journey myself, just remembering my own beauty, celebrating myself, even if it was just tiny, small things every time. There were times when I just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna go and have like a tea or a coffee or something like that. It was just like to spoil myself, and I would just celebrate having a cup of tea. But the moment I started to embrace that about myself again, the dreams that I'd shelved and I'd forgotten, and dreams that I'd actually given up on, to be honest, like I just given up on, started to come alive for me again. And I just remember thinking, this is what you meant, God. Remind women how beautiful they are. And when I got that, I didn't even think about it. I did not think about it. I didn't go and say, okay, so how am I going to do that? What came to my mind was I want to tell as many women about this as I can possibly can. I set a date, October the 1st. I had zero money to do this, by the way. I put the event together, and that was the first Beautiful Series event that we had. And so that's how this started. That's how the Beautiful Series event started. We had October 1st. And for me, it is a platform for God to minister to women, for God to just remind us who we are, who He created us to be. It doesn't matter how many times you failed. It doesn't matter who left you. It doesn't matter who abused you. It doesn't matter what you've been through. All those things were horrible, and you know what? God loves you so much, and I believe that if He could look at you in the eyes, He would say, I am so sorry that happened to you, but you know what? It didn't take anything away from who you are. You are still beautiful. You are still strong. You are still powerful. You are still able, and you still have the destiny and the purpose that God put on the inside of you, and you can still achieve it no matter what you've been through. And so for me, I wanted to create a platform where women could experience that, could experience God ministering that into them, not just hearing it from other people. We do have that. We get through speakers that come to the event, but God just coming into the space and just like ministering that on such a deep level. And you know what? The things that happen at the Beautiful Series, I mean, if I think of February, what happened on February 4th, no human being can take credit for that. You know, people come up to me and they thank me for putting the event together. The comments that I got afterwards of people just saying the breakthroughs that they got, getting the precise answers that they needed at that point in their lives, and they were just thanking me. And I'm telling you, it's great that they thank me, and I suppose it's because I put it together, but I can tell you right now that I cannot take credit. I cannot take credit for what happens because it's way beyond anything that I'm able to do. It's way beyond what any human being is able to do. That is God. That is God ministering to his baby girls. That is God ministering to his princess warriors. And so people ask me, what is a beautiful series about? That's what it's about. And when the healing happens, and that's the first phase. The second phase, when the healing happens, when the healing comes, you know, what do you do with that? And you know, that's where I'm at right now, of just like going out and doing what God's put in my heart to do. And I know every single person, if you've got breath in you, there's something that God wants you to do. It might be through your business, it might be through your workplace, it might be in your children. But let me tell you something, that it doesn't matter how successful you are. You can have this really great job, lots of money, you're driving your fancy car, you're going to your house that's on the hill, costs millions of bucks, and there's just this thing inside of you where you're like, I am not satisfied. And people can say it's because they don't have enough money, because they haven't reached their goals, and all of those things. And I can tell you it's one thing. It's that there's something that God placed on the inside of you, and until you answer the call, there will always be that righteous frustration. And so June the 3rd is a masquerade dinner. It's about taking off the masks. That's what the message is. Just like, yeah, I don't even know how to describe what June the 3rd is going to be. But it's going to be spectacular. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be God just coming and permeating into that environment, and and really blessing us in a way that only He can. So, so yeah, there I am. Lots I've had to say. I wish I could do it in much shorter, but that's what the event is about, and I'm really hoping that you'll come, and I'm really hoping that you'll share this video with friends, with sisters, with your moms, with your cousins, with every single woman that you know has got something on the inside of her that God's put in on the inside of her that He wants her to release, and that's all of us. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I send you love.